Oh.
City of Ashes! Let's go! City of Ashes was originally published in 2008, but like City of Bones, it takes place in 2007. So it was published a year after City of Bones takes place in the same year. In fact, it takes place specifically in September 2007, whereas I think City of Bones takes place in August 2007, so it's like a month later, basically. Maybe a few weeks later, I don't know. This book is the shortest of the three. It only has 19 chapters, plus an epilogue. And a prologue. So 21 chapters total. I lied to you. This is one of the worst books in the series. Prepare to snore. So we will begin, of course, with the prologue, which is entitled Smoke and Diamonds. I'm just going to rattle off for you real quick everything that happens in the prologue. This entire chapter is from the point of view of an irrelevant warlock whose name is Eliott. He basically summons the greater demon Agramon because Valentine pays him to. But Eliott isn't strong enough to contain Agramon, so Agramon kills Eliott, and we end the chapter knowing that Agramon is just like, he's not loose in the city, he's under Valentine's control because Valentine has the Mortal Cup, which grants him the ability to control demons. I hope you got all that because I'm not repeating it. Part 1 is entitled A Season in Hell. Like I said, Cassie loves her biblical illusions. Good for her. Chapter 1 is entitled Valentine's Arrow. I think this is the only chapter in this book that gets like a chapter name drop in the chapter. So we begin with Jace. Also, in case you haven't noticed, I've edited this. I've updated it. There's more people here. There's more threads. Jace's name is Jonathan now, because that's his name, and him and Clary are brother and sister. Chapter 1, Valentine's Arrow. We're in Jace's point of view. So he is with Alec and Izzy, and they've just finished hunting down a demon. They're at the Institute now. They enter, they find out that Maris, Robert, and Max are back from Idris. Maris and Robert are the Lightwood parents. I've marked Maris with her maiden name here because I respect women. Max is Alec and Izzy's younger brother. Actually, wait, no. I take that back. Only Maris and Max are back. Robert is not back yet. Maris acts uncharacteristically hostile towards Jace, and he's feeling kind of off because of that. Now we switch to Clary's point of view. She's with Simon, and they're watching an anime.
Are you serious?
Yep. They're watching an anime. So we find out Jace and Clary had a fight when Clary took Jace to see Jocelyn in the hospital. So now they're not on speaking terms currently. Also, we have established in this very first chapter that Clary wishes Jace was not her brother. Is it for the right reasons? No. So they changed the TV channel. We're with Clary and Simon right now. They changed the TV channel because the anime they're watching is boring or whatever. And they end up on a channel that's playing Dracula. And Simon freaks out and leaves the room. Why does Simon freak out and leave the room? Because he was kidnapped by vampires, if you remember. We are suddenly back to Jace's point of view. Him and Maris are talking in the library. Maris, her name is spelled Maurice, by the way, but it's pronounced Maris. It's specifically mentioned in the book that it's pronounced this way. Maris is suspicious of Jace and thinks that he's been working for Valentine since he was 10 years old. And she calls him Valentine's Arrow, and the only reason I mention it is because, chapter title.
Ew.
We get back to Clary's point of view, and I literally don't understand what is with all the point of view jumping in this particular chapter. Like, hello? Like, there's no reason we had to do this. Anyway, we're at Clary's point of view. Clary goes to check on Simon in the kitchen because she's worried about him, and that's where he is right now. He's in the kitchen having a little freak out, you know, as we do. They get interrupted by the phone ringing.
Ring.
The phone rings, and it is... Do you want to guess who it is?
RuPaul. Jace. Jonathan.
No, it's Izzy.
Oh.
It is Izzy calling because Jace disappeared. It is always Jace. And that is the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2 is called The Hunter's Moon. Now we get a new character here. We are abruptly thrust into Maya's point of view. Who is Maya, you might ask? Maya is a werewolf who is part of Luke's pack. You are immediately told via exposition that Maya is fucked up because her brother Daniel is actually a sociopath. Like, I mean that literally. She also has a fucked up ex-boyfriend named Jordan, and her fucked up ex-boyfriend is the one who turned her into a werewolf. That is everything that we know about Maya, just from like the first 2 pages of being in her point of view. Maya is at the Hunter's Moon, which is a werewolf's, like a bar built specifically for werewolves, made for werewolves, staffed by werewolves, all that fancy stuff. She is there and Jace walks in, because it's always Jace. Also, Maya's in the bar with this guy named Bat. Now, if you remember from the beginning of the first book, it is mentioned at Club Pandemonium that Simon says, "Wow, DJ Bat is killing it tonight." This is Bat. Bat's full name is Bartholomew, but he goes by Bat. So anyway, Maya's sitting with Bat, who we know of as being a DJ. That is all that we know about Bat. That and he's a werewolf because he's sitting in a werewolf bar with Maya, who's a werewolf. Jace walks in. Hello, Pip is screaming. Jace walks in and provokes Bat into hitting him. So they start a fight. No, there's no fight. Jace provokes Bat into hitting him. The bartender at the bar wrangles Bat and is like, "You're not gonna hit a fucking shadow hunter because you're gonna get in trouble with the clave, and we don't want that." Bat leaves to cool off, and then comes back like right away because he's found a dead body in the alleyway outside of the Hunter's Moon. The dead body belongs to a werewolf, and the body has had its throat slit, and its blood is partially drained. That is all we know about the body. The werewolves are like, "Jace, you're a shadow hunter. How about you help us with this? Help us figure out what's going on." And Jace is being an asshole right now, so he's like, "This is none of my fucking business, and I don't care about what happens to werewolves." So they all of the werewolves attack Jace, and the fight is only broken. The fight is only broken when Luke comes out of his office and is like, "Okay, guys, back off. I want to talk to this dude." So Luke brings Jace into his office. We're in Clary's point of view. Remember, she's with Simon in the kitchen. So Clary's with Simon right now. She gets a call from Luke, who's basically like, "Can you come pick up your brother, please? He's being a dick." Simon and Clary go to the Hunter's Moon. Also, Simon spends the period of time that they take to get to the Hunter's Moon being a little bitch about the fact that they're going to see Jace when they were spending time alone together beforehand, which I think is dumb as hell, but anyway. Simon is particularly horrible in this book. So they enter Luke's office to see Jace, and Jace throws a pencil at them. He makes Simon leave because he cannot tolerate Simon. So he admits that Maris kicked him out of the Institute because she thinks that he's in league with Valentine. So Clary and Luke are like, "How about you go talk to her and explain that you're not a Valentine spy, a spy for Valentine." But he only agrees to go if Clary and Luke go with him, because he's a big baby. Now we abruptly jump into Simon's point of view. Why? Simon is still suspicious that Jason and Clary have feelings for one another, even though they're siblings. Anyway, he meets Maya. I forgot to put a string, I'll fix it later. He meets Maya. They talk. Maya is waiting outside of the office to talk to Luke because she wants to tell Luke that Magnus is here and he's checking out the werewolf dead body. That is the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3 is called The Inquisitor. Clary, Luke, and Jace I'll get to the Institute. And we find out that Clary sent Simon home and feels bad about it. I'm glad you feel bad about it. I don't. Church legend brings them to see Maris, because she's the one that we want to talk to. But she's in a meeting with... Would you like to guess who, Eliott?
Isabel.
No.
Jonathan.
Raphael.
Oops.
Jonathan's on the way to see her. It can't be him.
Oops.
You haven't been listening.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Raphael and Luke have a little chat, and they agree that they have to meet up with each other because he's the current head of the vampire clan and he's the current head of the werewolf pack in the area, so they should definitely meet to talk about negotiating peace between them because they're hostile towards each other right now. Why is Steven doing that? Steven, stop. We also find out that Raphael is meeting with Maris right now to convince her that the vampires have nothing to do with the murder that just happened at the Hunter's Moon. Raphael's actually a projection because Raphael cannot set foot on Institute ground because the Institute is a church and vampires cannot set foot on hallowed ground. Raphael leaves. Maris reveals that the werewolf kill is the second kill in a series of killings that have been the same so far. That the first one who died was a warlock, and he was killed in the same way, throat slit, blood drained. The difference is that the werewolf, they didn't fully drain the werewolf's blood, which means that Bat probably interrupted the killer when he left the Hunter's Moon. They also found the warlock body 2 days before the current day. All that aside, Luke is like, Maris, girl, how about you just give Jace a chance to prove that he isn't in league with Valentine, give him a trial by the Mortal Sword. Now, we've heard about the Mortal Sword before, but we don't know anything about it. So I'm gonna tell you about the Mortal Sword. The Mortal Sword is used in Shadowhunter trials. Why?
Why?
Because when you're holding the sword, it physically pries the truth out of you. You cannot lie while you are holding the Mortal Sword.
Damn.
So it's great.
My 8-inch.
Your 8-inch So that is why Luke is suggesting that Maris gives Jonathan Jace, a trial by the sword. Maris, I'm gonna read what I wrote here actually. Maris delivers some very cold takes about the uprising to justify her distrust of Jace. Boo.
Boo.
Boo. I'm also gonna read this. She also tells us that Valentine is a manipulate, mansplain, manslaughter kind of guy, which we already knew, but anyway. Also, the Mortal Sword is also known as the Soul Sword or Malar Tack. I don't know how to pronounce it. The subtitles will do the work for me.
Mailer tack.
Slay!
Anyway, we find out that the Mortal Sword can only be used by who? The Inquisitor. Who is the Inquisitor? The Inquisitor is one of the heads of government within the Shadowhunter government thing. When Jace asks Maris to call the Inquisitor, Maris is like, she's already here. So they all agree that Jace will stay at the Institute so that the Inquisitor can question him. That's the end of chapter 3. We are now at chapter 4, which is called The Cuckoo in the Nest.
Are you serious?
I'm dead fucking serious.
Okay.
Luke! Clary and Simon are at Luke's house. Why are we at Luke's house? I wish I fucking knew. Most of this scene is completely irrelevant to the plot, so I don't have many notes on it, but Clary does reveal that she's thinking of getting more marks and really committing herself to this Shadowhunter gig. So good for her. Then we're suddenly in Jace's point of view and he's having a nightmare. Good for him. So he is awoken by Alec, who's knocking on his door, and he's telling him to come to the library for something important. Also, Jace points out that Alec has a bite mark on his neck and Alec gets very flustered about it. Jace gets annoyed at Alec Because Alec is worried about Jace, and Jace, is a bitch.
I took it and I ran for it. I win it and I stand on it. Money on the floor when we dance on it. Shine bright when I put a tan on it. I took it and I ran for it. I win it and I stand on it. Money on the floor when we dance on it. Shine bright when I put a tan on it. Bitch, I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss. I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch. I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss. I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch. I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss. I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch. I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss. I'ma shine like glass.
Jace storms off and is angry at Alec now suddenly for no reason. Maris is in the library with the Inquisitor. Now, I have the Inquisitor's name written here as Imogen Whitelaw. Whitelaw is her maiden name. In the book, she's referred to as Inquisitor Herondale because she married a guy whose last name is Herondale. That's how marriage works. Imogen starts questioning Jace, but like in a really hostile way. She denies him trial by the sword because she hates Valentine, and she agrees with Maris and thinks that Jace is also in league with Valentine. And instead of giving him the trial, she sends him to the prisons of the Silent City. If you don't remember what the Silent City is, I can't help you. So anyway, she sends him there for a night to make him more cooperative. We're back to Clary and Simon. Maya shows up at Luke's house. Also, out of fucking nowhere, we have Simon calling Clary his girlfriend. Hello? Hello? Unprompted. Unprovoked. Clary is staying the night at Luke's, and she invites Simon to stay with her, like in the same bed. Okay. Anyway, that's the end of that chapter. Chapter 5 is entitled Sins of the Fathers. And we are with Jace, and he is in prison. It's the middle of the night, and suddenly the Silent City, where, you know, the Silent Brothers are, and the Silent Brothers can't talk, it is filled with the sound of screaming.
Oh.
This is actually one of the creepiest scenes in the entire series, and I stand by that. Jace watches Brother Jeremiah, like, come into view, and he looks absolutely terrified. And some huge fucking dark mass comes around a corner, and Jace fucking passes out. Oh, wait. Jace watches Brother Jeremiah, like, come into sight, and then watches Brother Jeremiah literally die of fear. Forgot to mention that specifically. And then the black mass comes around the corner, and Jace passes out. Now we are with Clary and Simon, and what are they doing?
Sex.
No, making out. Not quite. Clary and Simon are making out. Clary goes to the bathroom to change. When she gets back, Simon is asleep. Then, Clary gets a text message from Isabel. We do not know what the text message read. We just know that Clary finds this text message so alarming that she leaves the house without Simon. Simon is sleeping alone. Boo-hoo. Jace wakes up. He's still in prison. And Valentine is there now. Shout out to Valentine. Valentine comes out of the darkness to talk to Jace. He's like, I killed all of the Silent Brothers. So basically he's just waving his big dick around. And by dick I mean sword, because he has the mortal sword. Valentine has stolen the mortal sword, which was kept in the Silent City. Valentine is like, Jace, join the dark side. And Jace is like, no.
Ew.
They're interrupted by the sound of coming footsteps, and Valentine leaves. And Jace is just kind of stuck in the prison cell. Rip to Jace. Now we are with Clary. Clary is on the subway. She goes to the Institute. Church brings her to Izzy's room. Izzy is not happy that Clary is here for some reason. Izzy sent Clary a text that said Jace is in the Silent City. He's in prison. Very nice. Also, Alec is there. Good for him. Izzy and Alec want Clary to go see Jace, but only if she'll tell him to cooperate with the Inquisitor, because they don't want Jace getting in any more trouble. Max shows up. This is Max. Max
Hi.
shows up. Say hi to Max, everybody. Max shows up because he thinks someone is trying to contact the Institute, so Izzy and Alec leave to go see what that's about. You may be thinking, why Izzy and Alec and not Maris? because Maris and Imogen have been called out to look at some other shit. I don't fucking know. So it's Alec and Izzy who go check out the distress call. Actually, yeah, Maris and Imogen got called out because there's been another killing, this time a fairy. And they have to go investigate. During this brief interlude where Max and Clary are alone, Max bonds with Clary over what? Manga.
Ew.
Very that. So Isabel and Alec come back, and they learn that it was the Silent Brothers who were calling the Institute. They now know that the Silent Brothers, the Silent City, is being attacked, so they decide that they're gonna go because Jace is there. Hello, they want to save Jace. The chapter ends with them locking Max in Izzy's room because he really wants to come, but he's also like 10, so no, he's not coming. And then Alec, Izzy, and Clary are gonna go, and Alec gives Clary some like marks and shit, and she's feeling really cool. That is the end of the chapter. We are now at chapter 6, City of Ashes, also happens to be the title of the novel. Clary, Alec, and Izzy go to the Silent City. Since we're keeping track, Alec names a Seraphilade Arathiel at this point. So they find the big main room, like where Clary was when she faced the council in the first book, and they discover that the mortal sword is missing, and also there's blood everywhere and there are people who are dead. They follow a trail of bloody footprints and find brother Jeremiah's dead body and Jace, who's still alive in the prison cell. Clary kind of goes crazy. She uses an open rune on the prison cell that Jace is in and literally opens everything in the room. It's so powerful. The rune is so powerful with the power of incestuous love.
Ew.
So yeah, Clary uses a massive open rune and opens everything in the jail cell, so also Jace's manacles and shit are like undone and he's free. This is also bizarre because Clary like has not been taught any runes really. She only saw the ones that she saw briefly in the Grey Book when Magnus gave it to her at the party at like the beginning. So they get Jace out of the cell and out of the Silent City, and they get out of the Silent City, and who's there? Maris and Imogen with like a fucking cohort of shadow hunters. We're like, what the fuck are you doing here? This is the end of chapter 6. Chapter 7 is entitled The Mortal Sword. Basically what happens. Maris sends some shadow hunters into the Silent City to see what's up with that. Jace tells the girls what Valentine said to him, and Imogen doesn't believe anything that Jace says because her single personality trait is hating Valentine. She thinks that Valentine took the mortal sword for Jace because Valentine knew that they were going to grant Jace a trial by the sword, and Valentine didn't want anyone to find out that Jace is one of his spies. Jace, however, is not doing good right now because the demon that attacked the Silent City also poisoned him, so he's suffering from demon poison right now. Moira, you just clawed Isabel. You have to calm down, Moira. You have to relax. We're on the radio.
Would you like or
Right, Jace has been poisoned by the demon that attacked the Silent Brothers. So Alec is like, how about we take Jace to go see Magnus? Please. Alec is like, how about we go take Jace to see Magnus because all the Silent Brothers are dead. Imogen thinks that's a shit idea because she's like, obviously you're just using this as an excuse so that Jace can get away. And then Alec just fucking is like, hey Magnus, and Magnus just walks out. Like, apparently he was there the whole time. Hello?
Hallelujah!
They all agree eventually that Jace can stay with Magnus until the trial. That is the end of that chapter and the end of that part. Part 2 is entitled The Gates of Hell. We are at chapter 8, which is called The Sealy Court, and I'm going to warn you now. The amount of fuckery that goes on in this chapter. You will scream. You will cry. Clary has a dream that her mom, Jocelyn, gives her a mark on her arm. And when I say mark, I mean rune. Know that I mean like mark with a capital M. And when Clary wakes up, she does have that mark on her arm for whatever reason. Then Clary goes to meet Simon. We get some new band names here. These names are Mojo Pie and Champagne Enema.
No.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So Clary and Simon go to Magnus's apartment to visit Jace. I would just like to say that there's some iconic banter that happens here, but I have not chronicled it because City of Ashes sucks. Alec is also there. So they all have a little sexy little meeting, and Magnus informs the rest of the squad. He's like, Valentine is trying to perform something called the Ritual of Infernal Conversion. What is the Ritual of Infernal Conversion, you might ask? The Ritual of Infernal Conversion, and before we get to that, basically a weapon or an object can have either an infernal alignment or like a holy alignment. There's another seraphic alignment. And the mortal sword currently has a seraphic alignment. So the Ritual of Infernal Conversion would change that alignment to an infernal alignment, which would make Valentine capable of summoning a huge demon army. The Ritual of Infernal Conversion itself involves bathing the blood in like the blood of one of each kind of downworlder, so a fairy, a werewolf, a vampire, and a warlock. So we know now that Valentine has successfully gotten the warlock and the fairy blood. He only got half of the werewolf blood, and he's missing the vampire right now. Alec gets a phone call from his mom, so he leaves the room temporarily. We find out that Imogen, through this phone call, Imogen has taken over the Institute completely, so Maris's influence is like next to nothing. So they tell Maris about the ritual, but she can't really do anything about it right now. Isabel calls to say what? This bitch, the queen of the Sealy Court, the Sealy Queen, has requested an audience with them. Them being like Clary, Jace, Alec, Izzy, and Simon. Maybe not Simon. I think just these 4. Jace is like, you absolutely cannot go to the Sealy Court without me. So Magnus makes a contract with him because Jace is supposed to be under house arrest at Magnus's house, right? So Magnus is like, look, you can go, but somebody has to like replace you. Somebody has to be like your proxy here until you get back. And who is the obvious choice for that? Alec. Because they're both gay. So Alec stays behind and so that Jace can go with Izzy and Clary and everybody. So Simon, Jace, Clary, and Izzy all meet at the entrance to the Sealy Court, which is in a fucking park. I have also highlighted this particular quote, which is a description of Magnus given to us by Simon. It goes like this. A warlock who looks like a gay Sonic the Hedgehog and dresses like the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Are you serious?
That is a direct quote from the novel. Isabel, before they enter the Sealy Court, Isabel warns everyone that they cannot eat or drink anything while within the Sealy Court. If you know anything about fairies, you should already know this. So they enter the Sealy Court. They are greeted by Isabel's fairy boyfriend, Meliorn. Meliorn does not seem to return Isabel's affection as much as she likes him. He leads them to the court, and I just want to point out that on the way, Izzy makes a euphemism and says, well, she makes a euphemism about heels and says nothing less than 7 inches, and I just think she's an icon for that. Anyway, they enter the Sealy Queen's chambers. Also, the Sealy Queen is hot. Just thought I'd point that out. They're offered refreshments, and they take them because if they refuse, they'll piss off the Sealy Queen. But obviously nobody's drinking any of it. And Clary gets this tea with like flower petals in it, and she picks one of the petals up and crushes it between her fingers. And she gets some of like the petal dust on her fingers.
Why?
This will become important later.
Okay.
She does it because, I don't know, the petals are cool or something. I don't fucking know. While Jace and the Sealy Queen are talking, remember later, I mean now. While Jace and the Queen are talking, Clary gets bitten on her thumb by a sprite. So she goes to like suck her thumb.
Wait, what's a sprite?
It's like a little fairy thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So she goes to like lick her thumb where the blood is. Friendly reminder she had flower petal shit on her thumb. Yeah, that will be important later. Okay. The queen frequently refers to both Clary and Jace as, quote, Valentine's experiments. She tells Jace to ask Valentine what blood runs through his veins, and says that if and only if Jace asks Valentine this question, the Sealy Court and all the fairies and shit will offer the Shadowhunters assistance in fighting against Valentine. So Jace is like, okay, I can do that, you know, that's easy enough, just asking a fucking question, whatever. So they try to leave. But because Clary sucked the flower petal shit off of her thumb, this is the dumbest technicality ever. Because Clary sucked the dumb flower petal shit off of her thumb, there's a rule within the Sealy Court that if you eat or drink anything while within the Sealy Court, you now belong to the Sealy Court, so Clary is stuck there. Anyway, the queen drops some vague comments about Clary having the gift of words unspoken, and that Jace has the angel's own gift, whatever that is. Big penis. She's not done clowning around though, this Sealy queen. She will allow Clary to go free. All Clary has to do is kiss someone.
Are you serious?
However, they go through, like, there's like an interaction where they're like, okay, who's gonna kiss each other, you know? There's like a bunch of suggestions that get thrown out, you know? And the queen says that the kiss that Clary desires the most is the kiss that will free her. At this point, Simon has already been rejected as a suggestion by the queen herself, because Simon, like, went up to Clary and kissed her, and she was like, no, that's not enough. I'm sorry, that didn't work. So this means that there can only be one person. Yep. So, anyway, Clary and Jace make out.
Ew, not again.
In front of the entire Sealy Court. And their friends. Their friends being Izzy and Simon. Even though they are brother and sister.
That's...
I want to sit down. But now Clary's free, so they can leave. Yay. Meliorn leads them to the exit. This is all in one chapter. Meliorn leads them to the exit. Isabel proceeds to proclaim that she's going to break up with Meliorn. Good for her. They're talking about how they're going to go back to the Institute, and Clary's like, no, I'm just going to go home with Simon. And Simon is gone. She turns around and she's like, where did he go? And he's just gone. And that is the end of the chapter. How are we feeling?
That was a lot.
Chapter 9 is entitled, And Death Shall Have No Dominion. Izzy, Clary, and Jace go back to the Institute. Clary and Jace go to Jace's room because Jace has something to show her, and it is not his penis. It is not. Jace, I hate this. Jace gives Clary one of his shirts to change into.
No.
And Jace leaves to shower.
No. Don't.
He comes back out, like, right away, though, because he hears Clary try to call Simon and gets really mad about it.
I'm scared.
And Clary gets mad at him. She basically says that it's Jace's fault that Simon ran away after the whole incest thing in the Sealy Court, because Jace shouldn't have kissed her like that. Because Clary apparently didn't want to kiss him. But according to the Sealy Queen, she did. This is dumb. Anyway, Jace is like, that's bullshit, and the only reason you're avoiding me is because you still have feelings for me and I still have feelings for you. Clary tries to defend herself by claiming that she loves Simon. Loves Simon.
No.
She tries to defend herself by claiming that she loves Simon. And Jace is like, yeah, like family.
Well.
And Clary yells at him. She's like, what the fuck else am I supposed to do when I'm in love with my brother? Are you crying yet? I'm crying. Jace tries to convince her that they can still be together anyway. You guys, Why is City of Ashes such a bad book? Clary calls it sickening. Yeah!
No, I knew it.
Jace goes back in the shower. Now we're with Clary and she has a dream. She has a dream. I don't care about the dream though. She wakes up in Jace's room with Jace there. She goes to the bathroom to change, and when she comes back out, Jace is staring at a piece of portal. Porno. He's looking at a shard of the portal that Valentine went through at the end of City of Bones because he picked up one of the shards and kept it. So he's looking at this shard of the portal. We also find out that Jace tried using like the portal shard and some of his shit to track down Valentine with Magnus's help, but it hasn't been working. And then I literally wrote, who fucking cares about the rest of this conversation? The doorbell rings, and all of them go to check it out. Would you like to guess who's at the door, Eliott?
Me.
Okay.
Jonathan.
Jonathan's already here.
Isabel.
Isabel's already... These three are already in the room.
Magnus.
Magnus, no! It's Raphael.
Damn it.
And he's with someone. Would you like to guess who?
Lily.
No.
Magnus.
You don't get any more guesses. You already said Lily. I already said no to Magnus when I was saying Magnus. It's Raphael, and he has what?
Oh.
Simon's dead body. He is
Ooh.
holding Simon's dead body. If you haven't screamed yet, you should be screaming now. Except that Simon isn't dead yet. He's just dying. Slowly. Love that for him. Anyway, let's explain what's happening. So do you remember in City of Bones when Simon, who was a rat at the time, bit Raphael to free himself from Raphael's grip? Because Simon had vampire blood in his system, he started undergoing the change but could not complete the change until he had until he'd been bitten by a vampire, injected with vampire venom, and died with vampire venom in his system. So, what happened is Simon showed up at the Hotel du Mort, and the vampires obviously attacked him because he's a human snack. I do not mean that in the hot sense. I mean that he has blood and vampires love that shit. So the vampires all attacked him, and he will now be dying with vampire venom in his veins, and there is no way to save him. So their only option is to either let Simon die or to let him become a vampire. In order for this vampirification process to happen, however, they have to bury Simon and he has to claw his way out of the grave and literally be reborn. Raphael informs them the longer they wait, the less likely it is that Simon will successfully be reborn. And because Clary is Clary, she's like, no, my best friend can't die. We're gonna bury him and he's gonna be a vampire. So yeah, that's how that chapter ends. Actually, no, one more thing. Also, Simon is Jewish. It hasn't been mentioned until now, but it is being mentioned now because Clary insists that they bury Simon in a Jewish cemetery. Chapter 10 is entitled A Fine and Private Place. We are at the grave site. Raphael is digging Simon's grave currently. Jace pulls Clary aside. Clary! Clary tells Jace that Simon's death is their fault, like both of them, because of their incest moment in the ceiling grave. Oh wait, I should put a sticker on Simon right now because he's dead. Here, he's dead for now. We'll get back to him. Alec and Magnus show up with blood because Simon will need to feed when he awakens. Also, in case you're fucking oblivious at this point, I've explicitly mentioned it a few times, but Magnus and Alec are like, there's something going on. They all gather around the grave and they're waiting for Simon to wake up or whatever, and Simon starts clawing his way out of the grave, and he gets out, and Clary is a dumb bitch. She's like, oh my god, Simon, and she runs towards him.
Oh my
Hello? So he attacks her, obviously, because he's a starving vampire. Oh, here. This was on for like 30 seconds. So he attacks her because he's a starving vampire, and Raphael has to tear Simon off of Clary. And anyway, Simon starts drinking tons of blood, and Clary has to leave because she throws up.
Oh, sorry.
She feels really nauseous, so she runs away and she throws up. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 10. We're at chapter 11 now. This chapter is entitled Smoke and Steel. Clary is now at the hospital.
Because she threw up?
No,
Oh.
because she's visiting her mom,
Oh.
who's still in the hospital in a coma. Clary sits down with her mom and tells her everything that has happened since her mom disappeared. I hope she left out the incest moment. Luke shows up, and they decide to leave the hospital together. They talk about Jace, specifically that Clary refuses to reach out to Jace to make sure that he's okay. And they also talk about Simon, and I think this is funny, because Luke got Simon a pamphlet with advice for how to come out to your parents in an attempt to help him figure out how to tell his family that he's a vampire.
No.
So when they get to Luke's house, Simon is there. Clary tries to convince Simon to tell his family that he's a vampire, but he's like, no, not a good idea. Then there's a big crash outside, and they look out to see that Luke has run over a demon with his truck. Hello? So Clary and Simon run outside, and they find Luke helping out an injured Maya. So they bring her inside to patch her up. She was being chased by a demon that somebody, probably Luke, identifies as generally being used as messengers. Maya is, you guessed it, poisoned. Why do all of the demons in this fucking... In the first 2 books, all of the demons, they give you poison. All of them. All of them. Anyway, Luke sends Clary and Simon to the Institute to tell the Clave what has happened to Maya in the hopes that they'll send them help. That is the end of chapter 11. We are now at chapter 12, which is entitled The Hostility of Dreams. We get, here we get Simon's point of view unnecessarily, and I've written in parentheses, yikes. Clary makes Simon call Jace for her, but using her phone. So Jace thinks it's Clary who's calling, so he picks up. But Clary refuses to have any contact with Jace. Anyway, Simon explains what happened to Jace, Alec, and Magnus, basically, because they're all at the same place right now. They're at Magnus's place. So now Alec, Jace, and Magnus are on the way to the Institute. I've written here that Clary has a diva moment and Simon leaves to go see how Maya's doing. Luke is not in the house at this point. He's gone to move the truck, so it's just Simon and Maya. Maya smells, because she's a werewolf, she smells that Simon is a vampire and gets really nasty about it, because if you'll remember, vampires and werewolves are not, besties. So, like, she literally fucking attacks him.
Oh, okay.
And then Clary bursts in and pins Maya to the sofa with a knife. We're in Clary's point of view now. Jace shows up for some fucking reason in this specific moment. I don't know why. And I'm gonna just read what I wrote here. He's pissed because his sister wife is avoiding him, so he acts very bitchy. Alec and Magnus enter the room before Jace can evolve into a supreme bitch lord, and Magnus starts healing Maya up because Maya's still doing rough. None of the boys, however, saw Luke when they came in, which is suspicious because he's just supposed to be moving the truck, so like, where did he go? After some unnecessary standoff bullshit to prove that Jace is very pissed at Clary, Simon, and Jace go out to see what's up with Luke. Jace also gives Clary a seraph blade called Naked. Anyway, apparently there's a riverbed nearby and that's where Luke is.
The river is here.
Everybody dive in. Anyway, there's a riverbed nearby and that's where Luke is. And he's been attacked by some demons. Wow. Which are apparently much worse than whatever demons were attacking Maya. We also get another seraph blade name, and this seraph blade name is Israfil. Jace starts fighting the demons. one of them lunges at Clary. And now we jump to a completely different scene for no fucking reason. But it's like still the same moment. I don't understand. It's the same, it's a continuation of what happened in the previous scene, but it's a new scene, you know? Cassie just wanted to give us a cliffhanger moment, and then she just didn't, like, commit. Anyway, Clary takes out her seraph blade, Nakir, and the demon literally runs away. We find out later that this is because the demon saw the rune that is on Clary's mom from the weird dream that she had with her mom. Wait, on Clary's
mom?
On Clary's arm from the weird dream that she had with her mom in it.
When your mom is a ruin.
When your mom is your arm. Anyway, they take Luke inside. This is not Luke, this is Luke. And Magnus, who's finished with Maya, has to start healing Luke now. When Luke is done being healed, Magnus turns to the group and is like, look guys, stop calling me for all of your petty bullshit. I am above all of this. I am the High Warlock of Brooklyn. Jace goes, okay, but like, you're dating one of our friends. And Alec is like, we're not dating.
Oh.
Anyway, Luke wakes up. We're at a new scene now. Clary's getting some shit from a closet. I don't know why. And Jace comes over to see... No, it's not Jace. This is Jace. Jace comes over to see her. They, once again, fight about incest. So they're fighting again. They're fighting about incest.
They're
right?
fighting against it.
They're fighting against incest. Hashtag united against incest.
You.
So they're fighting about incest, and Simon walks in on it.
Oops.
And then leaves. He like walks in just to see it happen and then leaves. Like, okay. And Clary's like, Jace, you ruin everything. And then she goes to follow Simon. Like, okay. Simon is like, I want to get out of here. And Clary's like, no, stay. So she gets Simon to stay at Luke's house.
Stay.
Simon is like, I can't trust you anymore, Clary, because you're too busy pining over your fucking brother. Simon does leave, actually. Because, yeah, fuck that whole situation. But Magnus and Jace both stay the night at Luke's house. Because Magnus wants to watch over Luke and Maya, and Jace can't leave without Magnus, because he's under Magnus arrest. That is the end of chapter 12. It is now chapter 13, which is called A Host of Rebel Angels. Remember how Jace invented the piano? Yeah, he's playing it right now. Jace is playing the piano right now.
What is he playing?
I don't know. He's playing the piano. This is still at Luke's house, by the way. I don't know why Luke has a piano. Jace sees somebody outside. Who do you think it is, Eliott?
Clary.
No!
Simon.
You get one guess.
The silly queen.
Raphael. Raphael brought a motorcycle, apparently because Jace asked him to. Like, hello? Hello? Okay. Jace apparently asked Raphael to do this in exchange for not telling the Clave about what happened to Simon. Because Simon's whole situation of him being turned into a vampire against his will is against the law. Jace also implies in this conversation that he has with Raphael that Raphael will never be able to make up for what happened to Simon. Which is a weird thing for Jace to say because Jace fucking hates Simon. Jace rides the motorcycle to a boat, which makes sense.
Okay.
Did I ever mention these vampire motorcycles can fly?
My god, it's like Hagrid.
Yes.
Harjed.
It's like Harjed. Jace gets off the motorcycle. He enters a room or a door or something on the boat. And shit feels really fucking weird, and he sees Clary there, but she's covered in blood. So Jace goes over, obviously very concerned. And she collapses, and Jace fucking passes out because he's terrified. And then he wakes up and Valentine is there. Apparently, Jace knew that Valentine was here because he tortured it out of one of the demons that attacked Luke. When did he have time to do this? I would like to know. Anyway, Jace didn't actually see Clary on the boat. What he saw was the greater demon, Agramon, who, if you remember, was summoned at the very beginning of this book by Elias, the warlock guy who's now dead, for Valentine. So Agramon is a fear demon who takes the form of whoever sees the demon, their greatest fear. So Jace's greatest fear is Clary dying. Also, Elias, the warlock guy from the beginning, is the same warlock whose blood is being used by Valentine for the ritual of infernal conversion. Valentine's plan with the whole demon attack on Luke's house, like that targeted Maya, his plan was to take Maya specifically and use her blood for the ritual because he knows that Maya is close to Luke and he wants to hurt Luke. Jace proceeds to ask Valentine the question that the Seelie Queen told him to ask him, which is, what blood runs through my veins, all that bullshit. And Valentine tells him, quote, the blood of the angel. Now, this is normal for a shadow hunter because shadow hunters are said to be like half angel, half human or whatever. So it's like nothing spectacular that Valentine tells him this. Jace apparently came to see Valentine because he needs someone to talk to who understands him, and everyone else he cares about right now is mad at him. As if he didn't do that himself. Anyway, Jace asks Valentine what his plan is, and Valentine tells him that his plan is to unleash a demon army on the Clave until they surrender. And then Valentine will order all of the demons to kill themselves with the Mortal Cup, which sounds like a foolproof plan. Valentine then shows Jace the Mortal Sword and makes him hold it. And when Jace looks up at the sky, he could see that the sky's like full of fucking demons, all the demons that Valentine has summoned. Valentine tells Jace that if Jace agrees to join him on his side of this war, then Valentine will ensure that none of the people that Jace loves will be harmed. And the chapter ends with us not knowing what Jace chose. And that is also the end of part 2. Part 3 is entitled Day of Wrath, aka,
Your birth.
my birth. Clary is waking up. She's at Luke's house right now, remember? So there's a big gathering in the kitchen at Luke's house right now. They're in the kitchen, and Maya leaves because she starts crying. She starts crying because she remembers how she treated Simon, and she feels so bad about it that she starts crying. Girl, please. Somebody needed to hit him. Clary puts together what the Seelie Queen meant. The Seelie Queen meant when she described Clary as having the power of words unspoken or whatever. Clary realizes that this means that Clary can create more powerful runes than like normal shadow hunters. And she can also create new runes. And everyone's like, I don't know if I believe you. So the obvious test to this is Clary has to create a new rune right now to prove to everyone that she has super cool powers, right? So Clary goes to get her sketchbook from her room. On the way, Maya intercepts her and is like, hey, I'm sorry about what happened to Simon, but we don't care. We do not care. Actually, we do, I guess. Clary tells Maya that like she does not care about Maya's apology because Maya has to direct it to Simon, not to Clary. It is implied here that if Clary and Simon were not currently having a thing, Maya would be interested in Simon. Girl, please, you could do so much better. Back in the main room, Clary has her sketchbook now, so they're all like giving ideas for like what kind of rune Clary could create. Jace is like, how about a fearless rune? And Clary's like, okay, let's do it. Clary draws a rune, but because it's on paper, they don't know if it actually works because you can't make a paper fearless. So they're like, okay, who do we try it on? Jace already acts like he's not scared of anything, so that leaves us Alec. So Clary puts the fearless rune on Alec. And when I tell you, this scene feels so staged. So they put the rune on Alec. There's no immediate reaction. There's a knock at the door. They open the door. Who's at the door? Maris. Isabel, and Robert Lightwood. He has appeared. This is the dumbest scene in the entire book. I literally wrote that in my notes. This feels so staged. Okay. Alec steps up and it's like, Mom, Dad, I have to tell you something. I'm broken.
Don't tell me.
I'm broken. I have to tell you something. I'm seeing someone. And not just anyone. A downrun before he can get any further. Magnus knocks him out.
What the hell?
He like snaps his fingers and Alec falls unconscious. At least we know now that the fearless rune worked. Which means that Clary can create new runes. But at what cost? Alec immediately wakes up, the rune has worn off, and he immediately takes back everything that he just said. Magnus assists him in covering this up. He's like, oh yeah, no, Alec's just delirious. It's like lingering demon toxin stuff, you know? Also, the Inquisitor is here for all of this bullshit. Imagine doing this in front of, like, the president. Imagine Justin Trudeau is in your living room as you're about to come out to your parents. Like, I'm shaking right now, genuinely. Imogen gets pissed at Magnus. You'd think it's because Magnus let Jace out of his apartment. No, it's because Imogen somehow knows. She somehow knows that Jace went to see Valentine last night. And she's pissed at Magnus for enabling this. And we actually are informed of how she found out this information. It is because she placed a tracking rune on the piece of portal that Jace has been carrying around. Imogen is fucking out. She's out for all of these people. Okay, they're all gonna fucking die and it's gonna be Imogen's fault. She wants Isabel, Alec, Magnus, and Clary and Jace all punished because they've all broken the law. Robert is like, how about we don't do that? And Imogen is like, fuck you. And Imogen, this is also the first time Imogen ever mentions her son, Stephen Herondale. Stephen is dead, also. He has been dead for several years now. And by several, I mean for like almost 20. He's been dead for a long time now. It is like way before canon. And Luke seems to know who Stephen is. He knows all this situation. Imogen decides that she's going to take Jace with her to Idris tomorrow because she's fucking had it with all of this shenanigans, which is honestly very fair. Everyone in this, including Church, I'm kidding, everyone is pissed about this except for Alec, who's like, oh yeah, Jace deserves it. Izzy is like, Alec, what the fuck? Gets very mad and leaves. Magnus leaves too. He's like, I've had it. I can't do this anymore. Anyway, Jace is cuffed and he leaves with the clave. Alec goes with them. That is the end of chapter 14. Chapter 15 is called The Serpent's Tooth. Luke and Clary have a little chat. They have a little conversation. Luke thinks that they're gonna, the clave is gonna put Jace on trial, find him guilty, strip him of marks, which means like forcibly remove all of his runes, and force him to live the rest of his life as a human being. Which would suck for Jace because the only thing he's good at is being an asshole and fighting demons. Suddenly, we are with Maya. We are in Maya's point of view. So, we're with Maya. She sneaks out of Luke's house. She ends up in an alley. And she turns. And who does she see? Her dead brother Daniel.
Oh.
Except that he's alive. It's not actually him, though. It's Valentine's fear demon Agramon. We know this. Maya does not. And Valentine, like... Okay, this is creepy. Valentine is there with the fear demon, and while Maya is, like, incapacitated on the ground, he walks over to her and he's like, how old are you?
Ew!
He literally says, how old are you? And Maya's like, I'm 15. And Valentine says, and I quote, perfect.
Perfect for what? To go to jail? Like what?
Anyway, that's the end of that. We're with Jace now. The Inquisitor brings Jace up to a training room. We get 4 new Seraph Blade names, and these names are Jophiel, Harahel, Sandalphon, and Tahariel. So the Inquisitor traps Jace in a Malachi configuration. What is a Malachi configuration? It is a cage made up of 4 Seraph Blades placed at like the cardinal points, like north, south, east, and west. And you say some funky shit, and like there's an angel light cage thing now, but it doesn't have a roof. The Inquisitor lied. She does not intend to bring Jace to Idris to stand trial. She intends to attempt to trade Jace to Valentine in exchange for the mortal cup or sword. Both of them. Both of them. She wants both of them in exchange for Jace. So Jace is like, that's a dumbass fucking idea. Nobody's ever gonna fucking go for that, especially not Valentine. Fucking Imogen is like, no! You're wrong! Because she firmly believes there is no stronger force than that of parenthood. Parental love transcends everything, Imogen believes. Firmly. Moira needs to relax, is what she needs to do. Right, Moira? Here, do this last part with me, Moira. Do this last part with me. Okay, cool. So, Imogen... We're stuck with the finger, guys. Oh, no, never mind.
She died.
Imogen leaves after explicitly saying, I want Valentine to know what it's like to hold his dead child in his arms. We're with Clary and Luke again. Clary and Luke. Moira, please. Moira, please. I'm gonna lock you out. You're being a monster. You're being monstrous and evil. We're with Clary and Luke again. Clary tries calling Izzy. Izzy doesn't answer. Why doesn't Izzy answer? The world may never know. She goes to check on Maya. But obviously Maya's gone because she's been fucking kidnapped by Valentine, who thinks that 15 is the perfect age. Anyway, they call Simon. Because Clary's like, well, Maya said she wanted to apologize to Simon, so maybe Maya went to see Simon. And Simon's like, no. And while they're on the phone with him, Simon goes, hold on, I think someone's trying to break into my house. We're back to Jace now. Jace is stuck in the Malachi configuration. Alec comes into the room and is like, Jace, why did you go see Valentine? We find out during this exchange that Jace refused Valentine's deal and is not, in fact, in cahoots with Valentine. Valentine's deal, in case you forgot, was that if Jace agrees to join him, Valentine will, like, exclude all of the people that Jace loves from his mass murdering plan. I've written here, Alec is king, please remember that. I stand by that statement. So Alec starts trying to figure out how to get Jace out of this fucking cage because Alec lied to the Inquisitor. The only reason he acted like a little bitch who thought that Jace should go to jail is because he wanted to earn the Inquisitor's trust so that she would let him in this room so that he could break Jace out. They can't figure out how to get Jace out, and Jace is like, look, Alec, I want to know more about this Steven guy that Imogen is so obsessed with, so how about you go ask Luke about Steven? And Alec leaves. Clary is still on the phone with Simon at this point. We are in Luke's truck right now on the way to Simon's house, however. She's talking to Simon, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, and someone else picks up the phone suddenly. Would you like to fucking guess who it is, Eliott?
Jace.
No, it's Valentine.
Oh.
He hangs up on her after implying some ominous shit that he's gonna do to Simon. In case you forgot, the 2 types of blood that Valentine is missing for the ritual of infernal conversion are vampire blood and werewolf blood. Alec. We're back to Alec and Jace. Alec is back to see Jace. He has not asked anybody about Steven. Good for him. He has found, however, a thing that will unlock Jace's manacles because Jace is still wearing cuffs or whatever. So Jace's cuffs are unlocked. Also, Alec gives him an apple, I think. Okay, sure. Then this is dumb as fuck. Alec is like, hey Jace, how about you try jumping out of the cage? Because the cage doesn't have a roof. And Jace is like, that's fucking crazy. And Alec is like, okay, but like I've seen you pull off some really fucking crazy physical feats before. How about you just try it? And the scene ends, actually the chapter ends with us not knowing whether or not Jace has agreed to jump or not. Chapter 16 is called A Stone of the Heart. Clary and Luke get to Simon's house. At this point, I really don't care that Simon is being kidnapped. I kind of hope Valentine kills him so that we no longer have to deal with him and his shitty character. Clary and Luke get to Simon's house. Simon is gone, but his phone is there. And in an oddly Pretty Little Liars fashion, his phone is open on a message, and the message says, "Now I have them all."
Pokemon?
Valentine, basically what I said. Valentine has Simon and Maya so he can complete the ritual of infernal conversion. Also, on the creepy perfect thing with Valentine about Maya's age, it is specified in the ritual that Valentine needs child blood.
Ew.
So all of his victims have to be under 18, or it's a no-go. Luke and Clary conclude that Valentine is being, like, recklessly violent and very, like, attacking people because Jace pissed him off. Alec and Jace go to Izzy's room because, yes, Jace did jump out of the fucking cage thing. It's, like, the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, they send Max to get Izzy's phone from the kitchen for some reason. I don't know why her phone is in the kitchen, but okay. Jace and Alec tell Izzy what the Inquisitor is planning, and they arm themselves with whatever the fuck is in Izzy's room, which is actually a surprising amount of things. Good for her. Max returns with Izzy's phone. Izzy calls Clary. They find out that Simon and Maya have been taken by Valentine in this manner. Jace tells Clary to come to the Institute with Luke and to wait outside for him. Jace has a plan. His plan is that him, Magnus, and Luke will go confront Valentine, and Alec and Izzy will stay at the Institute to call Magnus. And then Jace jumps out of the building. Now we are Simon and we are waking up. How do we feel this morning?
Not great.
Yeah. So he's in a room with Maya. Maya apologizes to him for her shitty behavior, and Simon is like, it's fine, we're good. Now we're at Clary and Luke. They get to the Institute. They witness Jace jump out of the building. Jace lands and he's fine. No injuries. He's like perfectly chill. Sure. They run away and they drive off in Luke's truck. Gorgeous. Now we're with Maya and Simon again. They're in like a room. They're like chained up together. Valentine shows up. He dumps a bunch of silver powder on Maya. Now, silver powder is like painful. Silver in general is painful for werewolves to encounter, like it burns them and shit. So this is diabolical. This is unnecessary. And then he slits Simon's throat with the mortal sword. I would just like to mention this is the second time Simon has died. Also, we get a fun piece of vampire lore. Vampires cannot speak God's name. That is the end of chapter 16. We're now at chapter 17. This chapter is titled East of Eden, which is also coincidentally the name of a John Steinbeck novel that talks about the whole Cain and Abel thing. It's like Cain and Abel, but like over several generations. I haven't read it, I've just heard about it, and it's my grandpa's favorite book. Are you Googling East of Eden by John Steinbeck? Yeah. We're with Jace, Clary, and Luke in Luke's truck. This entire exchange is just Jace catching Clary and Luke up on everything that's happened that we already know about. Another facet of Jace's plan is revealed here, though, and this is that he wants Clary to put the Fearless rune on him so that Valentine's demon, fear demon Agramon, will not affect Jace. They get to wherever the fuck they're supposed to meet Magnus at. Jace goes to the water. They're by the waterfront. And, because they have to get to a boat, right? A boat? Hello? A boat. Jace goes down to the waterfront and sends someone a message. We also get some more Seraph Blade names, and these names are Abrarial, Camille, and Talantes.
Camilla?
Talantes nuts. Also, fun fact, Shadowhunters never name any of their Seraph Blades after their holy angel Raziel. Clary gets a text, I didn't specify from who, but it's probably Izzy, informing her that Imogen has given Valentine until sunset to either refuse or accept the deal for, like, Jace in exchange for the mortal instruments. They ask Luke, finally, about Stephen. This is what we get. Stephen was a member of the Circle as well. I'm not putting a Circle sticker on him now, but he will get one later. He joined the Circle after Luke was turned into a werewolf and became Valentine's second in command. We also find out that Stephen had a wife named Amatis, but Valentine forced him to divorce his wife and marry someone else, Celine, who's also dead, by the way. Stephen was killed in a Circle raid on a vampire nest. Celine committed suicide after Stephen died, and at the time of her suicide, she was 8 months pregnant. Stephen's father, whose name we never learn in the series actually, died of a heart attack shortly after all of this happened. So Imogen lost her son, her daughter-in-law, and her husband, like one after the other. Also, because Celine committed suicide, she could not be buried in the City of Bones because according to the Shadowhunters, suicide is a sin. All of these factors contribute to why Imogen is so fucked up right now and why she hates Valentine. At this point, Magnus shows up and him and Luke go off to talk privately for a second. While they're busy with one another, Clary puts the Fearless rune on Jace. Jace also gives Clary some more marks. Magnus comes back to talk to them, and from this conversation we get a lore tidbit that you might want to remember for later. This lore tidbit is that the first ever mark that was created was the Mark of Cain. It was given to Cain after he killed his brother Abel. They all get in the truck. The plan is for Clary and Magnus to stay in the truck and Jace and Luke to get on the truck and confront Valentine. Magnus magics the truck to be able to drive on water. So anyway, they go to the boat. Now we're with Izzy and Alec in the Institute. They are eavesdropping on a conversation meeting with Maris and Imogen and the Claim and all that bullshit. During this meeting, a projection of Valentine appears, and he turns down the Inquisitor's trade offer. The Inquisitor gets really fucking pissed, and that's the end of the scene. Brace yourself. We're back with Clary, Jace, Magnus on the truck. Clary and Jace are in the back of the truck. Clary tells Jace that she trusts him to get Simon off the boat safe, and then they kiss. And then hello? Anyway, then they get to the ship, thank fucking God. They get attacked by demons immediately, and Clary immediately gets carried off by one of them. Jace dives into the water after Clary. Luke follows him. So Magnus is just kind of alone on the truck. He could have just driven off. Anyway, he doesn't. He has to strip wards off of the boat, however, because there are like magical protections in place that if anyone without Valentine's permission steps on the boat, they will die instantly. We're back with Alec, Izzy, and Maris. They're with Imogen, who's pissed the fuck off. Izzy is sent off to get Robert. I don't know where he is, but she's sent off to get him. Maris and Robert use Imogen's failed plan to be like, this bitch is wild. How about you guys listen to us instead? And everyone agrees. They all ready themselves for battle. And that is the end of chapter 17. Chapter 18 is called Darkness Visible. It begins with Clary still being carried off by this demon on Valentine's boat. It dumps her in the same room as Maya and Simon. And we find out that Simon is dead. Bye, Flog! Then we get to Jace and Luke, who are climbing up the side of the boat. And they get attacked by a fuck ton of demons. Surprise, surprise. Maya tells Clary how Simon died. Clary uses a rune to melt the walls of the room they're in so that they can get out. Maya gets out, but before Clary can follow her, Valentine fucking appears and like yanks her back. He disarms Clary of her stellar so she cannot use her super powerful runes right now. And then they fly off together with a demon. Sure. Anyway. Maya at this point has run away. We don't know where she is. Jace and Luke are fighting demons. It's rough. And then all the Shadowhunters show up, obviously. One of them pulls Jace aside. It's Imogen. We don't know why Imogen pulled him aside yet because we get a sudden fucking scene change. We're with Valentine and Clary again. So Valentine's demon drops them both off in a room with bowls in it, probably for demon child blood. When I say demon, I meant downworlder child blood. Anyway, they have a really stupid verbal spar and it ends with Valentine telling Clary that Jace's biggest fear is Clary dying. No. He tells Clary that Jace's biggest fear is his love for her. Twisting what happened. Twisting it. Back to Imogen. She's like, I need to talk to you. We're in the middle of a fight and she's like, Jace, I need to talk to you. Okay? Jace's shirt is torn open. No, she's not making out with her.
Okay.
She's like 50.
Whoa.
His shirt is torn open, and in the middle of the conversation, Imogen is abruptly like, wait, how did you get that scar on your shoulder? Because Jace has a scar on his shoulder. And he's like, I don't know, it's always been there. And the Inquisitor seems to have some kind of realization, and Jace gets pissed at her. Because she starts asking him, she's like, did you truly believe that Michael Wayland was your father? And he's like, yeah, will you stop fucking pushing this, like, I'm Valentine's spy bullshit on me, you dumb bitch. Like, stop. We never get to find out what Imogen's revelation was, however, because Jace storms off back into the fight. Gets attacked by a greater demon. Imogen jumps in front of the greater demon and takes the blow for him, and Imogen fucking dies. She tells him something before she dies, but we don't know what. Alec shows up. Good for him. We have a new Seraph Blade named Samandiriel. So they see Isabel gets injured, and she gets carried off the side. And Alec is supposed to take her away, but then he doesn't. I don't know. Jace starts fighting this big-ass demon thing, and then the floor collapses, Alec falls overboard, and Jace is, like, falling through the hole in the ground now. This is so wild. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 18. Bye for now. Okay, chapter 19. The title is in Latin, so I'm not going to pronounce it.
What is it?
Dies Irae.
Dies Irae?
Yeah,
Day of Wrath.
that.
Or Day of Judgment? I don't know.
I think it might be Day of Judgment, because I feel like we've already had Day of Wrath.
Wait, I have to search it up. Oh. It's a musical thing. It's a motif they use in all the...
It might be Wrath, because...
Day of Wrath, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we already used Day of Wrath. It was the name of one of the parts. Anyway, Valentine gives Clary a big villain speech. You know how it is. Valentine is keeping Clary here, not because she's his daughter, but because Valentine knows that by clave law, they will have to trade Clary for Maya, like give Valentine Maya in exchange for Clary, because Clary's life is more valuable because she's a shadow hunter. Anyway, while he's busy talking, Clary picks up the mortal sword and points it at Valentine. And that is where that scene ends. Now we're with Jace. Jace has just fallen through the floor and is in the boat somewhere. He finds a stele on the floor. This means that he was likely in the room that Clary was in before Valentine swooped in with a demon and took her away. However, Jace sees Valentine in this room that he's currently in and calls out to him. That is the end of that. Alec wakes up on the truck, like Luke's truck, and he's with Magnus. Izzy is safe, we learn. She got away on a Shadowhunter boat. Alec's like, okay, but Magnus, I have to get back up on the boat. All my people are dying. I have to help them out. And Magnus is like, look, bitch, I'm fucking drained, okay? All of my magic is being used to strip these wards off, and I have to keep this fucking boat afloat, and I just fucking saved your ass. Will you relax, please? And Alec is like, well, how about you take my strength? And we have a gay little moment there.
Wow.
So now we're with Valentine again, and he's talking to Jace. We're with Jace, rather, not Valentine. Valentine tells Jace that he did something to Clary, but it's nothing she won't recover from. He also tells Jace that Imogen's death is his fault, like Jace's fault. And also that Simon and Maya are both dead, and this is also Jace's fault. Valentine then claims that Jace is just like him, so Jace fucking stabs him.
Oh.
Was it Valentine, guys? No, it was Agramon. manifesting himself as Jace's fear of being just like Valentine. Also, Jace's fearless rune is gone now because it's just been used up because he just had that confrontation with the fear demon. Jace follows a trail of blood out of the room and finds Simon, who is not dead.
Oh my god.
You thought he's not dead, he's just dying. And you know what happens? Jace is like, you're dying, take my blood, heal yourself. So Simon takes his blood, and it's a little homoerotic, will not lie to you. This will become important later. So anyway, back to Clary holding the mortal sword to Valentine's neck. She fucking drops it immediately, by the way.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the mortal sword is painful to hold, besties. Because it pries the truth from you. It is ice cold to the touch. It is not fun to hold.
I thought it was kind of like holding potatoes and dropping them.
No. Valentine takes it and points it at Clary instead. This is boring. Valentine tells Clary that Jocelyn, her mother, left him because she accused him of turning their first child, who would be Jace, into a monster, and did not want Valentine to do the same to their second child. But apparently, quote, it was too late. Clary does the whole, Jace isn't a monster, I don't know what you're talking about. And Valentine goes, I wasn't talking about, and then he gets fucking interrupted. Why does he get interrupted? Jace and Simon drop in through the fucking roof.
No.
Valentine is like, Jace, why isn't Simon dead yet? And Jace is like, I fucking revived him with my blood. And Valentine is like, you fucking did what? Excuse me? He literally says you have no idea what you've just done. Which again, more about that later. Clary gets knocked away towards a wall. So Jace, Valentine, and Simon are having a standoff right now. During this standoff, Jace throws Clary his stele. I really hate that word, stele. Stele
Artois.
Stele, what you
No.
want? Clary proceeds to draw a big boy, powerful rune on the wall. What rune is it? It's a penis. No, it is an open rune. But for some fucking reason, it appears as text. Like, Valentine turns to see Clary and he's like, what the fuck did you write on the wall? And he looks scared. And Valentine wrote, Mene Mene Tekel of Parsin on the wall. I did not pronounce that correctly. But this is like from ancient Hebrew text, and it translates to, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. And it...
She called him fat.
She called him fat. It basically represents the end of an empire, this phrase. The taking down of a king, if you will. So anyway, it's an open rune, and because it's so fucking powerful, everything on the ship bursts open. So the ship just starts legs open. Everything on the boat bursts open. The boat starts falling apart.
Ovaries. Burst.
Ass gaping. They all fall into the water. Clary falls unconscious. She wakes up on Rook. Hello? She wakes up on Luke's truck. And who's with her? Jace, Simon, and Luke. Where did Magnus and Alec go? A question for the people. We find out that the ship burned down because all of the oil tanks burst open. The ship caught fire. But none of the shadow hunters died. Why?
Why?
Because there were some fairies in the water who fished them out. Because Jace fulfilled his deal with the Sealy Queen. He asked Valentine the fucking stupid question the Sealy Queen wanted him to ask, so she pulled through. This is the help that she offered. How did Jace know that they would need help getting out of the water? Hello? This is a plot hole. Anyway, they start heading back to shore on the truck. However, they notice that the sun is coming up, which is a bad thing. Why? Simon is a vampire.
Oh.
Simon is a vampire. So they're literally freaking out because Simon is gonna die. And then the sun comes up and Simon doesn't die. The last scene before the epilogue, Jace is in his room at the Institute and he's packing his shit because he's leaving. Mayrus comes into the room And it's basically like, you've always been a member of my family. I'm sorry for treating you differently. I just felt so stupid. I felt like Valentine was tricking me. Anyway, the point is, Jace is one of the girls again.
Is there no reason why Simon doesn't die?
Girly, we're gonna find out.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Not in this book, but in the next book we will find out. The epilogue is unnamed. Clary visits Simon's house. Simon is alive. Simon does not know why he was not burned to a crisp by the sunlight. We do not find out in this book, like I said. So he's with Clary, and he breaks up with Clary. He breaks up with Clary because he thinks he deserves someone who would love him as much as he loves Clary. And he thinks also that Maya could be that person. But Clary and Simon agree to still be friends because they're besties. Luke picks Clary up and they go to the hospital together. Hospital. Luke confirms to Clary that he's in love with Jocelyn, but he does not think that Jocelyn feels the same way. So he does not intend to tell her. And he also says that Jocelyn does not know that he's in love with her, but then literally 2 pages later, he's like, actually, she probably does know that I'm in love with her because I literally offered to marry her and she said no. What is the truth, Luke? Clary thinks Luke should tell Jocelyn anyway because she thinks the people having to hide their feelings for each other is stupid anyway. And this leads to her having a revelation. She's like, oh my god, I should tell my brother that I'm in love with him. So then she says, Luke, take me to the Institute immediately.
Ew.
So Clary bumps into Jace at the entrance. Jace is like, hey, let's go to Talkies. So they go to Talkies. We find out that there has been no sign of Valentine since the boat incident. But before Clary can tell Jace how she feels about him, Jace is like, look, Clary, I think I finally understand what you've been trying to tell me for this entire book. And I think this thing that you've been trying to tell me...
Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay.
This is your moment.
Okay, I think this thing that you've been trying to tell me is that you just want to be brother and sister, and you know what? I'm on board with that. Let's just be brother and sister from now on. And Clary is literally, like, close to tears. She's like, okay. Because she was about to tell him that she was ready to do the incest.
Ew.
Clary leaves Talkies and is crying because she can't be her brother's girlfriend.
Crying at the Talkies?
Crying at the Talkies. A woman intercepts her outside. The woman introduces herself as Madeleine Bellefleur and says that she was friends with Jocelyn a long time ago. She tells Clary that Jocelyn had a plan that in the event Valentine came for her on Twitter, in the event that Valentine came for her, Jocelyn would have a spell cast on her that would make her fall unconscious, so that Valentine wouldn't be able to find out from her where the mortal cup is. Madeleine also says that she's the one who helped Jocelyn put this whole plan together, and she is the only one who knows how to wake up Jocelyn Fairchild. And that is the end of City of Ashes. Arguably one of the worst books in the series. Did it have kind of a good ending? No, not really. At this point, there's so much stupid romance shit going on that the original intention of, like, finding Jocelyn, reuniting the mother-daughter thing has just completely gone, like, it's like a subplot at this point. It's not even the main plot anymore. The main plot is the incest. Like, hello? Anyway, that is the end of City of Ashes.